Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. We're going to continue here with space exploration. Now, today's episode is going to mostly be a recap of what took place in my live stream last Friday. Now, since then, you may have seen a little bit of communication that I sent out, essentially saying that I'm not going to be doing this series on my Twitch stream anymore. I've gotten feedback from more than one person, and in some cases quite convincingly, that that they really like the YouTube content, but they don't like watching streams because it's, it is a different experience, and I can understand that, and I respect that. So from this point forward, I will be working on the series only in the YouTube series. And the next time I stream Factorio, I'm going to be doing a different setup. Most likely it'll be I don't know. We'll see. I've got some ideas. But in any case, I will be doing Factorio on Twitch, but it'll be a different game. And on YouTube, I will be continuing this series. So my original intention was to stream this and then put that video up on YouTube as well as part of the series. But I haven't published it yet. YouTube has been processing it for a very long time. You know, it's like a 3-hour video, so but it's still not ready. So anyway, I'll do this recap video today to show where we are and what was built, and then you could consider the stream VOD to be optional content. You know, you can watch it if you want to see it actually get built. But honestly, in that stream, an awful lot of it was just discussion about what to do and how to do it. And so if you don't watch it, you'll still be fine. As long as you watch this video, you won't miss anything except the actual construction. Okay, but I'm still going to explain everything that was done. And basically what was done was we got to Blue Science and started to do Blue Science, and then started to work on the rail system a little bit. Okay. So I've researched several things, one of which was the Jetpack. So now in my armor, I replaced the exoskeleton legs with 2 jetpacks. These are kind of like the exoskeleton, so the more you have, the faster you go. But basically the way this works, you press the J key and you go up into the air, and then you can use your keys to fly around. And you can fly over buildings. I was told you can fly over water, although I haven't tried it yet. Let's go do that. Yeah, see? So you can fly over water. And it uses, you don't have to fuel the jetpacks. It just uses, whoops, I lost my bots there. Don't want to do that. It uses fuel that's in your inventory. And then you just press J again when you want to return to the ground. Okay, yeah, the bots really want to get this part done. We'll come back to this as well. This is part of the future rail system, which is still very much in development. Okay, so real nice and quite fast, you know, even with only 2 of them. You just have to make sure you've always got some fuel with you. So I put my fuel stack in the quick bar just so I can always keep an eye on how much I have, and I can go grab more if I need it. Okay. So for the Blue Science packs, we already had red circuits done, but we needed engine units and sulfur. Okay, so I decided to put the engine units over here, since I had a lot of space here above the motors. And it seems like having motors and engines in the same place makes sense. Okay, so we already had the motors, and then up here I just built a little engine factory. I decided to go with 20 machines. My calculations suggested that we would need 10 of them to support the science pack production. And then I decided to add another 10 on top of that because we're going to need some of these to turn into electric motors or electric engine units, which we need for production science packs later on. Okay, so right now this is approximately twice of what we need. And the setup is pretty similar to how it is in vanilla, except that we need motors in addition to gears, pipes, and steel. Okay, so I just brought, well, actually, the motors go over here, and then I brought motors back. So what I did here is I combined a belt with the motors and steel plate over here. Now to accomplish that, I took a splitter off the main line and then used a filter splitter on that to only allow the motors to come out and not the electric motors. And then that joins up with steel, so they both side load and then go over here on a shared belt. Okay, so they run over here, and then I split it again just so I can feed both sides of the little production setup here. So that takes care of the steel and the motors. And then down here, another small factory just making pipes and gears. Okay, 2 machines of each. And that keeps all of this running pretty happily. Now, another cool thing that I learned actually after I built this, when I was building this, you know, first I built this side first. And then I wanted to flip it over to build the other side, okay? But when I do that, you can see that the 2 belts on the top, if I just flip over a blueprint like that, they're now facing in the wrong direction. Okay, so what I did in my, you know, my old-time Factorio ways was just to copy everything except for the belts. And then I put them there, and then I ran the belts going the right direction. But somebody reminded me that as part of the upgrades, recent upgrades to Factorio, you can actually mirror it. So in this case, I could flip it over by pressing, what is it, G? Yeah, I could just press G, and that mirrors it vertically. So the belts are facing in the same direction, but the inserters are facing the other way. So, you know, it flips it, which is very nice. And that's with the G key. You can flip your blueprint. And then with the F key, you can flip it horizontally if you wanted to. Right? So that's a really nice feature that I still haven't used in a video or anything yet, but I was glad to be reminded of that. Otherwise, I probably would have forgotten that improvement was ever made to the game. And I'll use that next time I need to do something like that. Okay, so Jetpack's on. So after that, we went to, let's see, not the mall. Oh, we needed the sulfur. Okay. So the sulfur setup is pretty simple. I built it down here, feeding off of the same petroleum line that I used for the plastic. Okay, I haven't modified oil yet. We're still doing basic oil processing. And at the time that we built this, that was all that we could do because we didn't have the blue research done yet. But it is done now, so that's on our to-do list to do advanced oil processing next. So we'll possibly get started on that today, but probably in the next video we'll do that. So real simple. It just takes some water and petroleum, and out comes sulfur. So I just have this loading in 2 directions, so we get a full yellow belt. And then the water I'm pulling from this little puddle here, which was just large enough to place a pump on. I wanted to use this, but you can't put a pump on it. I guess it's too small. So I just pull the water from there. It needs power with space exploration. So that comes up here. And then I put this pipe set up here to get it over to the main water line, just because I anticipate needing more sulfur later to make sulfuric acid and so forth. So this is essentially just dedicated to make the blue science packs. Okay, and now that we have that, we had a lot of space over here left over, so I decided to make the blue science packs over here in the same area as all the rest of the science. Now, we are doing 2 science packs per second. Not actually, but because the machines are a little bit slower than one. But anyway, it's 24 machines. Each one gives us 2 science packs at a time. 24 seconds crafting time. So by having 24 of these, I get an average of 2 per second times the 0.75 crafting speed. But I'm using the same assembly machines as red, green, and military, so it all balances to about the same production rate for all of them. And this was a fairly simple build as well. You know, we just have to take the red circuits. So I have red circuits and engines combined on a single belt over here. Okay, the engines I joined onto the bus next to the plastic, and I sent some down this way, and then those came over, and then I hook up with this red circuit line and bring that over, and then we have the sulfur, and all of that put together gives us blue science packs, which then comes down this belt, which you may recall I had a good portion of this belt already in place when we built military science, because we were anticipating that we would add blue science to the other side of this belt at some point, and that's what I did. I need more grenades, by the way. Let's grab them while we're here. So now we have lots of blue science. We've got the military science, red science, and green science. And they're all feeding into our labs quite happily. And we've been getting a lot of research done. So let's take a look at the research that was done with the blue science packs. So we researched electric engines. We did lubricant, some of the robotics stuff. We can now make construction bots and logistics bots for the base. Haven't started doing that yet. You know, most of this has just been research going, running in the background. I haven't taken advantage of a lot of these new recipes yet. Advanced oil, like we mentioned, we got some modules done. The larger storage container with logistics capabilities, laser, utility science. We got substations, and these researches have been going very fast just because we're producing it rather quickly. Construction bots, like I mentioned. Worker robot speed is increased, so now even the fusion bots that I have from the FasterStart mod are also quite a bit faster, which I can show you here. Right, so that's very nice. And I still am just using what I started with, you know, this armor and the little fusion reactor and stuff. I did craft some modular armor, but unfortunately, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Modular armor. I expected that this would be an upgrade over the FasterStart armor. This has a grid size of 4 by 6, whereas modular armor has 5 by 5 grid size, right, which is essentially one more grid square. The problem, though, is that with a 5 by 5 grid, it only leaves me one tile here in the middle instead of 2 wide, right? And then I have a row on the bottom that doesn't get used. So the 4 by 6 actually just allows me to fit more equipment in than 5 by 5 does. With 5 by 5, I just have a lot of empty single grid tiles in my equipment grid. So it made it so that I actually couldn't use as much equipment. So I just went back to the small armor. And we'll just wait until we can do power armor, which we can start to research now. That'll give me a 7 by 7 grid, which will be big enough to hold everything that I currently have in my loadout plus more. The problem there, though, is that I need processing units, aka blue circuits, which clearly we haven't gotten to yet. So that'll be at some point in the future. But we can go ahead and research that. We can research production science packs. And for now, I'm going to try to hold off. We'll do uranium processing. I'm going to hold off on some of these new mod-related technologies until I have a chance to really understand what they are. So for now, I'm just kind of queuing up, speed upgrades and stuff like that. And stuff that we're already familiar with. We can do laser turrets. Because, what I'm concerned about is doing the research as fast as I can. We can blow through a lot of new technologies that we don't really understand. And, kind of like the blueprint flipping, we can forget about the benefits that they provide and not take advantage of them. So I want to be a little bit more deliberate about the new technology that I'm going to research and just kind of stick with the stuff that we're already familiar with until we get a chance to really study it and make a plan to take advantage of it. Okay. So, but in terms of the newer technologies from the mod, things that I have researched but not yet implemented, those strong boxes, there's this adaptive armor, which appears to behave somewhat like a shield, I suppose. It allows it's like a self-repair, right? Fills a role similar to shields, but with lower power requirements, but with much slower regeneration. So, but I think that would be good to have when we get back to having biters. We got heat shielding, which I currently don't have a use for, but I believe it is an ingredient in some other items that we're going to need to make. The Meteor Defense Installation, which can protect the entire planet from meteors, but only shoot one at a time. But again, this is another thing that here we need blue circuits and batteries, neither of which we're making right now. So this is something that we'll use in the future. We're not quite ready for it. Yeah, here we go. The electric furnace needs the heat shielding that I showed you earlier. Let's see. I think that's all right. Storage warehouse. We've already seen the warehouses. And then I did this umbrella unit that we've been talking about. Again, it needs batteries and blue circuits, so I haven't built it yet. What happened? Oh, here it is. I couldn't see my space exploration buttons. There they are. Yeah, so we're trying to get prepared for this coronal mass ejection, which will be coming in about 31 hours. That's what that umbrella thing is for. But we've got time to get that ready. And that's about it. So we have other things we can do, like the nuclear power. Now in this case, we'll get satellite rocket silo pretty early in the game, it seems like. I could be wrong, but I think in vanilla it takes more than the first 3 science packs to make that. So we have satellite rockets, and then we'll have cargo rockets. Yeah, and lots of good stuff that'll allow us to get out into space. Navigation. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we need to launch a satellite so that we can start exploring the universe, I suppose. Yeah, so portable RTG. Oh, nice. Okay, anyway, there's lots of good stuff there. Like I said, haven't researched very much of it yet because I want to make sure that we're prepared to plan to use it and we don't skip over anything important. So that's Blue Science. We needed more steel, so I upgraded the steel production line to use steel furnaces. That gives us twice the output. I did have to upgrade these belts on the outside to use red belts so that they could feed it fast enough. Okay, so now this portion is made with red belts, and here you can see I'm merging a couple different mining lines into this single red belt so that we can keep steel fed. Iron we still don't have too much trouble with. I think we can pick this up now. That's old stuff. Okay, but now we're really mining everything that we can, and we started to find that we're going to be needing more ore soon. So this also seemed like a good time to get trains started. So let's go check that out. Just picking up some of these idle mining drills. Oh, I destroyed some meteors. How cool. Looks like one made it down, but didn't destroy anything. Okay. So let's run up here. So I added the production of train parts to the mall. Let's come over here, get rid of junk. This is kind of like my junk warehouse. Coal, wood. Okay, and I have a lot of rail stuff with me. Right, so for the rail stuff, I just built... I built a little annex to the mall. Since the mall is already filling up the whole thing here, I thought it would be better to build a separate section to make the rail parts. Okay, so I ran a belt of iron, a belt of steel. This is why I needed more steel, actually, because we started to use a lot for rail. Another belt of iron up here. So up across here, we're just making iron sticks and gears and stuff that we need for these rail components down here. Green circuits down the middle, and then here are the engine units, which are coming down here so that we can make locomotives. Okay, so we're making rails, we're making train stations, we're making signals and chain signals, locomotives, cargo wagons, fluid wagons. We're making the tanks that feed into the fluid wagons. We used to be making those tanks here, but I replaced that machine with this one that's making the meteor defense turrets. So actually over here, I'm going to replace this. I'm going to put a chest here so that we can have some tanks in reserve. Like that. And actually I've got a bunch on me already, so let's get rid of some of those. Don't necessarily need to be carrying those around. Okay, so this needed gears and pipes, so that's why we've got that there, as well as the tanks to make the fluid wagons. All right, so we've got all the stuff that we need for trains. Now this is a schematic on how we're going to integrate the train system into the base. So in this particular playthrough, I'm not going to do a train grid this time. I would like to say that that was a conscious decision from the beginning, but to be quite honest with you, when I started making grids for the base, I didn't consider trains at all. And these grid sections, I feel, are a little bit too small to turn into a train grid. And the reason for that is, if we look at, if we look at the size of a four-way junction, that takes up a pretty significant portion of each grid section, if I were to use this design. Now, we could use something like roundabouts. I think I did that in my Factorio series. It feels like that's a little bit more compact, but I don't know if it really is, to tell you the truth. Anyway, I think these grid sections are too small for that sort of thing. So instead of trying to convert the existing grid into a train grid, I decided instead just to make a like a single, what would you call it? Like a trunk that runs up the side of the base. Okay, so this is kind of like a schematic of the base. Each of these machines represents, one of these grid squares. Okay, so the idea here is I got a bunch of production grid squares over here. We've got our belt bus running down the center. We got some more production over here. And then over here, we will run the train lines, north and south. Okay, which I've started to construct. And during the stream, I kind of came up with this design which puts the rail in the center of an existing grid square. Has power pole placing that's consistent with the rest of the grid that we've already built, and is easy to put into the grid. So I've got, let's see. Yeah, so I made this blueprint, which is a 4-lane straight section, which, as you can see, is just 2 rails going north, 2 rails going south, power poles, and then this lines up. This will line up with the center of any of my grid squares, right? And it could also go left and right, I suppose, right? If we wanted to do that. And then it also does not interfere with the meteor defense turrets. So it lines up, this one lines up rather nicely with the existing grid, while not being a grid itself. Okay, I decided to go with 4 trains, so single locomotive with 4 cargo wagons or 4 fluid wagons. So it'll be single-headed, and so for this main line, we'll have 2 lanes north, 2 lanes south, and then wherever we need to pull the trains off, we can just go into a 2-lane setup, going east-west to get to mining, or if we need a train to unload within the production grid, for example, we can put a junction there and then have a train station inside one of these production grids. All right, so and then I just started to construct some of the rail just to get things started. But no part of the base is connected to it or anything yet, but this will be able to continue up and hit some of these resource patches. Looks like it'll go right through the stone, so we'll need to find another stone patch. There's one over there. We'll find stuff as we start exploring. There's plenty of oil. I'll probably need to start making a lot of landfill in case in case our main line runs into water. We'll need to go over it. Yeah, so that's the very basic beginning of the rail system. Like I said, nothing is hooked up yet. So the other decision, the other design decision that I made, at least as far as the rails are concerned, is to use Logistic Train Network, or LTN as most people call it. So I did install the LTN mod, and that'll allow us to make the LTN train stops. Okay, and based on a recommendation of someone that was on the stream, I also installed LTN Combinator, which gives us this special combinator to use with LTN. I am not familiar with it yet, so I need to do a little research on how that works. But, you know, we'll get into all that as we start to develop the train network. Now with LTN, if you're not, for those of you who aren't familiar with LTN yet, I will be spending a lot of time talking about LTN as we build it and how it works and how to use it. But essentially what LTN does is it allows you to set up many train stops and indicate for each train stop whether it is a supply stop or a requester stop, first of all. So if it's a supply stop, that means that it's providing some product that is to be picked up and taken somewhere else. And you feed the inventory of that train stop into the LTN network. And then somewhere else on your base, you'll have one, or maybe you'll have many requester stops, which are going to be looking for that particular item. So it works very much like the robot network does, you know, where you have supply chests and requester chests, or provider chests and requester chests, is what they're called in the game. So, so that mod allows us to make a train station that works in a similar way. We'll have provider stations and we'll have requester stations. And then LTN keeps track of what station has what and what station needs what. And then you build a depot. I'm going to make my first depot over here. Haven't built it yet, but that'll be coming. You make a depot and you fill it with trains, empty trains, and then the LTN system will, whenever there's a request that is an active, whenever there's an active request, and there's a provider station that has what is being requested, LTN will dispatch whatever train is available in the depot to go pick up and drop off. So that way you can run lots of different items in your train network, and you don't have to set up an individual train schedule for every single, you know, for every single pair of train stops. So it makes it very efficient. It allows you to run the base with fewer trains. And I'm not sure if it really results in less traffic or not, but it makes it pretty easy to manage, you know. Kind of like when you're doing logistics bots, you know, once you can start making something over here, you just dump it into provider chests, and then anywhere else in your base you need that stuff, you just put down a requester chest, and then the bots will pick it up and bring it over, and you don't have to worry about where it's coming from or how it's getting to where it needs to go. It just gets handled by the system. So LTN does a similar function, but with trains. It is a little bit difficult to use, I will admit. So that's why I'm going to try to explain how it works in as much detail as I can, so that for those of you who haven't used it before, you'll be able to hopefully pick it up. If you were to search through my previous videos, I have done an LTN tutorial in the past. I think that was for Factorio version 17 or 18, I believe. I don't remember which, but But if you watch that, that tutorial will still be mostly accurate to the best of my knowledge. I don't think I'm going to do another separate tutorial video for it, unless there have been a lot of changes that I haven't seen yet. But for now, if you wanted to learn more about it than what I'm describing right now, search for my LTN tutorial, and where I describe in a lot of detail how it works. Let's see. And that's pretty much where we left off since the last, since that live stream where we put this stuff together. Like I said, I spent a lot of time kind of thinking about how to set up the trains, thinking out loud how to do that. I got a few suggestions from the people on the stream. We kicked a few ideas around, so it was nice to have that sort of collaboration with the viewers on the stream to help me decide how to set up the trains. But I think it'll work pretty well. And I'm also going under the assumption that this base is just kind of the starting point, and that eventually we're going to get off of this planet and we're going to be doing a lot of production out there. So that's why I'm not, at least at this point, I'm not too concerned about making a train system that can handle tons and tons of volume. This type of train system using LTN, I think, is good for managing lots of variation in different types of parts, which we have with this mod pack. We have a lot of different components and things like that we make now, like the little motors and things of that nature. So I expect that we'll have more complexity, meaning more different parts that we have to use, but not as much volume. I could be wrong. And if I am, then we might have to change things, but for now I feel comfortable with the direction the base is going. So let's pick some more research. Rocket fuel from water. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Copper plate and water. And 500 seconds. 500 seconds. Gives us one solid rocket fuel. I guess this is designed for us to get a rocket going quickly, huh? Maybe without having advanced oil and stuff, although that 500 seconds crafting time, jeez. That has 100 megajoules. Now, where's the regular rocket fuel? Oh, okay. I already researched the regular rocket fuel. And that's made from solid fuel. You can also make it from vulcanite block, which I don't know much about yet. Or solid rocket fuel. So I guess this is a liquid rocket fuel in liquid form, which is new. So why do we need rocket fuel from water? I guess we'll find out when we need it, right? That's 100 megajoules, and what was this? Is this 100 megajoules too? Yeah, it is. Okay. Interesting. All right, so let's do the satellite rocket silo. And let's look at those rocket parts. Heat shielding, solid rocket fuel. Okay, rocket control units. So this is not really any different than the vanilla rocket, except it has heat shielding added into it, which makes sense. Yeah, this all looks pretty much the same as vanilla for that satellite rocket. All right, so let's queue that. Again, I'm gonna avoid some of this other advanced stuff that I'm not familiar with. We can do nuclear power. Yeah, there's some military stuff that I don't know. I guess we can start researching some of that stuff. Yeah, and then the rest I can't do yet. All right, so let's get that done, and then we'll move into the other stuff. Rocket reusability. Oh, that'll be nice. Yeah, and then we get into all the space exploration, interesting stuff. So we'll queue those up for now, and in the next episode, like I mentioned, we'll continue working on trains as needed. Like I said, I think the first use for trains is just going to be to get more iron ore, right? So that would probably be the first thing that we do, is go up there to set up a mining outpost, and then we'll bring some trains in over here to unload ores for copper, iron, and steel. So that'll be the first thing that we do with the trains. And then aside from that, we'll work on advanced oil, and once we have advanced oil, I'll be able to make rocket fuel. I'll be able to make sulfuric acid, which will allow us to make blue circuits, and then at that point, we'll be ready to get into the advanced technology. So, all right, so that's that. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And I will see you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.